Welcome to Tulsa Titans, highlighting our local executives that are making an impact. I'm excited today. I've got Donovan Farrow. Donovan, how are you doing?
Doing great today. Thanks for having me on.
So you are the CEO of Alias Infosec. Can you start us off just by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Again, my name is Donovan. I'll do personal stuff. I'm a busy guy. I'm a serial entrepreneurial. At one point, I guess the highest, I've had 5 businesses. I focus mainly on 2. The other ones, I'm a hobbyist. I just can't stop. So very busy. The one alias that we're discussing today is I've had it for 11 years in the September. Started in an area that didn't exist, like cybersecurity is the term that everyone uses. Talking about it 11 years ago, obviously no one really knew what that was. And then I'm just, canary in the coal mine. It's coming, no one, I'm building the ark, if you will. And, we'll say even just 6 years later, everyone was like, man, this ransomware though, this is crazy. So to kind of be a part of that and see it build and actually see in our industry, I started talking about it again in 2010 and building that. And from now I can tell you in cybersecurity, which I'm always open to competition. So it's good to see there's local companies that are here in Oklahoma. There's probably, since I started mine, 5 other ones. So it's awesome to see that build over time.
Well, yeah, and you and I've talked a lot about that, right? There's been a lot of change for everybody in the last 24 months, but really we're both in the tech industry. I mean, we've been right in the middle of it. So what I'm curious about and what I like talking to you about when we weren't recording is what are some of the things that you've pulled back from and what are you leaning into with all this change?
Yeah. We have changed. We're definitely, a lot more open. We're a pretty, I don't know, even know people talk about like our companies, our culture is very Google in the most positive way, not stealing your data and watching you at all points in times in your passwords. But so we have a culture that, can either work from home. It's super flexible. It was kind of that way before, but it was uncomfortable for, I guess, the employees to stay at home because they didn't have a spot. They didn't like to sit on their couch and do work. So we were definitely more open to that. We definitely in the inside, ours is different. We have ping pong tables, video games, and people actually play them. We have different offices we built so people can kind of chill out and relax. So it's kind of the same thing. I just think what I always wanted to build was a place where people didn't have the Monday blues. I worked for a lot of corporations and it's a grind, right? You get paid well, you have good benefits, but you want to go home and you just want to die just because, because you forgot to do some stupid memo that someone forgot about. It doesn't matter. Always say I wanted a company. Imagine if you got to go to work every day and just do your job. And that's what we've been trying to build. So kind of going through that, I would say we haven't changed. We've kind of pushed more into that culture and the world has let us do that. Usually meeting remote is not an option. I love face-to-face, but some of my employees who are engineers, the guys, that you got to like in the dark room and we push pizza under the door for them and they just don't come out. Right. So they're living their best life. So, but we balance that. Another thing, I'll just kind of jump into the change part, which was interesting. So we do incident response as one of our services. And what that means is when a company has ransomware specifically or a breach, basically they're kind of held hostage. All their data is encrypted and the hacker has a key. I can tell you it was crazy. When COVID happened, everyone was like, hey, we need to work from home. We can't be in. And everyone just hit the ground running as fast as they could. And from that, I can tell you within April to kind of middle of May, we worked 5 of those, which is abnormal. We get like maybe 2 a month, maybe 2 to 3. So we worked 5, but it was like a 2-week frame that they got hit, and they hit Pulse VPN, a VPN service that I actually didn't know about, but apparently everyone but me uses it. But yeah, and so they got breached and they ransomware. I can tell you there was a company even as large as I think they were $3.8 billion at their company. I'm not for sure if they're around. We were able to get in there, rescue them, and they were able to kind of facilitate assets. Oklahoma City, Eastern Oklahoma, and Tulsa. That'll happen. So from that point, we actually staying in here and focusing together, being more collaborative, which it pushes to be. We grew 15% in COVID. which is very excited about. We didn't let anyone go. Very proud of that. And another reason, kind of let me have my soapbox, I appreciate it, is that I started this company with $40. I have zero debt. And because of that, there was a part, and I'm sure, as you know, for some reason, everyone just stopped paying each other for like 3 months during 2020. It was awful. It was terrifying. But lucky enough, I learned from the oil and gas guys who just go bankrupt all the time. But when it's great, it's great. When it's not, they just bankrupt. I learned to just watch the debt, and I don't have any debt. So with that, we didn't let anyone go, and we grew because of that. I think it encouraged the employees that they knew that they had leadership that wasn't going to pull the rug out from next month. So the relationship was great, and it instilled a lot of good trust, and I appreciate them for doing that. So it was a really amazing time. 2020 for me, just not even personally and everything else. I actually really enjoyed it, which I know I was going to say it was a great year for me. My favorite part is, again, I got 4 kids, is work from home. Like, I mean, still do sometimes, but school was from home, and I got to see them. I got to see that connection of success, right? I got to help them make that next step. And you realize that, that's a whole nother discussion. School, like, I wish that, we're trying to do some hybrid stuff, but it's just nice to see your kids mentally graduate there, and you have that one-on-one time, and you realize that they don't need to be in school like 38 whatever hours it is a week. I don't know. Because we would just say, all right, Monday and Tuesday, we're going to bust through it. And then we would just hang out, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And it was a blast. It really was. It was a great family building time for me, and I really appreciated it.
Man, that's awesome. And I noticed through you kind of sharing your story, but again, how COVID affected the business, how it affected decision-making, how it affected the family. There's a lot of people that would view glass half empty, right? It kind of wrecked their life, and you're more of a glass half full guy. What do you believe in, and why are you so optimistic? Why do you think that happens?
I think it's just, I didn't let the world tell me how I should be. And maybe that, and maybe some people think, I don't know if I'm not like an anarchist or anything, but I don't get influenced a lot by things that are outside of my control. Like, people, COVID, I get it. It was scary and stuff like that, but I didn't really let it affect my life like that. Again, I think I'm very different in that. And my kids didn't need to be afraid. I didn't let them be afraid. I didn't let my team be afraid, because I've already told them I've been preparing, not for COVID, for something to happen in the industry. Who knows, I've been preparing for this. And I've told you guys many a times, this is not the first time I brought up, that we're good. We got your cash flow. We're good. Hey guys, the house, we got that under control. We're going to be fine, because all you need at the end of the day is your family. And that goes to the business family and my family. Because if dad or boss is not scared, there's no reason for you to be scared. And the fact that I think, some, not all, there was, let the world affect them when they saw fear in management. It definitely trickled down, because as soon as you instill fear in your employees, they're going to go home and talk to their spouse, who their boss is most likely scared of the situation as well. And that's only going to bleed into the children. And that little box that you live in, which you thought was a house, is now a prison. I'm going get too deep, but I felt like that was kind of what happened. And people didn't want to go outside. It's okay. Even if, all the COVID stuff and stuff, it's okay. Vitamin D is good for us. So go outside, get some fresh air. It's the best thing you can have in something like that. So we did a lot of that. We were outside a lot, went hiking a lot, got away from the negativity. We'll say the TV. We got away from anything that was negative, which was the TV, and everyone. And also on that, to kind of pivot, is I told my team, I said, hey, this is a time for us to step up and do something right. We saw that those companies I talked about earlier getting ransomware, and I was like, this is not fair. This is not right. This is wrong. Obviously, we're trying to make money as well too, because everyone's got to eat. But on the flip side, we started giving out free external pen tests and cybersecurity assessments. Like, if I was a hacker from the internet, could I break in your company? And we sent that out to all our clients, emails we had, and we gave away those, like 16 of those for free, and said, hey, you need to patch this. This is bad. We saw that we could get in here, make sure we're good, because we don't want you to lose your business. I can't imagine getting getting COVID and whatever happened with upper management there. And then secondarily, getting hit with ransomware. Disastrous.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, giving back. And a lot of what you said is you're really mindful as an executive and intentional with your communication. Is there a daily habit you have? I mean, I know everybody. So I started 3 companies, right? This stuff hit. Listen, guys, we're going to pull away from the negative. We're going to stay positive. We've been intentional with our funds. That level of communication, a lot of people want it, right? Yeah. So what do you do daily, or some insight that really prepares you to think about others or get ready for the day?
You know, I appreciate that. Was a nice question. A lot of people ask me that. I always say, because, you know, I'm different. I don't have a gigantic company. I don't have investors. I'm the owner. I don't have other people telling me how to run my company. I always breaks down as I was like, they're like, why do you do that? Like, why do you like, I don't know, let us go home, like have a long lunch, or, you know, you pay for the gym. We have a program here. You go to the gym 3 times a week, you get $250 every quarter. You get $1,000 in the year as a workout bonus. Thank you. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I just chalk it up to being a decent human being. So I'm just like, I don't know. It's what I would want in a boss. You know, I worked for a lot of corporations that it was a shell, and everyone gave a fake smile and waved. And on the inside, you know, they were dying. So, so we're I think a little more colorful. I'm the exact same person I am on this interview as if you met me as a client, or if you met me at a bar having a whiskey or whatever. The same guy. I can't be someone else, because that to me is emotionally exhausting. So it's been a real blessing. So going back to your question, sorry. I read a lot. I read a lot of like books about business, stoicism, communication, scalability. I listen to podcasts. I work out. I should work out more. Make sure that I'm not listening to anything ingesting. I'm letting my brain process what I've read or what I've recently watched or something. And I allow my brain to process. I may not have an answer for it, but if you let your brain kind of like think on it when you're like listening to music or something, as if you're running or something, that's really good for me. I love to run early in the morning, and I love to run late at night. So if you're in my neighborhood, you see that guy running because I have my cell phone out and you can see the light. That's me. That's me. So it's really refreshing. Even everyone's like, I know what you're going to tell me. Everyone's super busy. Donovan, I don't have time for that. And I'll push back on you. Say, again, I have 4 kids. I'm not married. I have, you know, that many businesses. I have almost 20 employees now. You definitely have time. You definitely have at least 20 minutes just to give it your all in a run. At least go down the block, run back, give it 20 minutes, and you're going to hate it for the first 2 weeks. And being honest, and after that, your body will crave that, and you'll feel better. Your brain will work faster, and you'll just be you'll want to share that success with other people because it makes you feel good. And when you feel good, you can share that with so many other people, and it's just a reciprocative environment that you've created for yourself.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of echo that. So I came from a big corporate environment, and then now moving into running and owning a business and communicating down, kind of sharing that culture. For me, 2 of the same things, right? I read a John Maxwell book a long time ago. He's got 9 million of them. If you try to take notes, you'll take 20 pages on one chapter. I mean, the man's just gifted. But he says in that book, the talent that he wants everybody else to have is reflection, is to be mindful, take time and think about what you thought about, and really write it down and go back over what you've read and do things like that. He takes an hour every single day to do that still. And he said that's made the biggest impact on his life out of anything. The other thing is the working out. So I work out every day, and I look fit, but I do it for me. I do it to process my day, to clear my mind out and be able to focus. And I, much like you, I'm always on a podcast. So everybody's like, oh, what are you jamming out to? I'm like, well, I'm listening to a podcast, you know? But again, just with the way my mind works, it's clear, and I absorb and can reflect on anything I'm listening to. So those are 2 really great things to do every single day. I want to pivot. You know, you and I can probably jump into the corporate world and say we've learned a lot of things not to do from executives. Yes. On your path, has there been somebody that's poured into you or that you admire that's really changed your trajectory in a positive way?
So there's yes, the positive way. Let's say this. One thing I can tell you that, and this may people have feelings about him or not. There's a guy. His name is Aubrey McClendon. I used to work at Chesapeake. I did a lot of work for him. He's a gangster. I mean, like and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like that dude, I'll tell you this. So here's what, so I'm going to stick with the positive. So I had all the way up to Aubrey, the way it reported, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bosses. And then there was Aubrey McClendon. He's the CEO of Chesapeake, a big secret here. And that guy talked to me more than the top 4 of that architect, which is weird because I was just a security guy, a worker bee. And he would come, I'd be like walking down like to lunch or something. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to walk down this. I don't even want this guy to know I existed. I'm not trying to be on his radar, because he's a wildcatter, right? And every time he'd be like, hey, Donovan, how are you doing today? And I'm like, I am great. He's like, good. Is there anything we can do better here? What do you like? What do you not like? How can we improve the culture here for you? And I'm just like, why are you talking to me, man? I'm a no, like, I'm just, because, I'm way down here. That company at the time was like at least 10,000 people. He did that 3 times. And then the last one, I mean, he approached me. I don't even know why he talked to me, but he did this to a lot of people. It wasn't just me. Was my favorite he goes, Mr. Farrow. And I was like, oh, Mr. Farrow now, what's going on? He goes, how's everything going? I was like, man, it's great, man. I appreciate you talking to me. That's really nice of you. I know you're busy. He's like, no, thank you for working here. And he goes, how's your daughter? I heard she's in our daycare. He goes, her name's Ava, right? And I'm just like, yeah, it is Ava. I don't know why you know that. He's like, yeah, we started the daycare. She was one of the first ones. I'm glad to hear that's going great. I don't know if this guy had like someone like Secret Service in his ear telling him who I was, which would have been just fine. But the fact that you can go to somebody, no matter who you are, where you are, and you guys, upper management forgets that. Just going and saying, hey, man, you did a good job today. I really appreciate that. That goes like forever, like a good pat on the back. People think that, I don't know if they just don't think that works for a lot of people, but it does for like everybody. Hey, man, on that email, that was a great email. I really appreciate your effort. That goes for miles, and that instills dedication to your team, pride in the business, and also them working for you, because they're going to stick around longer because their work is appreciated. So that was a very long answer, but just say thank you to an employee for once. Maybe even if you're, which I'm kind of a robot and I'm learning about these things called emotions over time, right? A lot of guys out there get it, but like even what I had to do to help start building this process, I wrote down all my employees and I made sure, it's not that I didn't want to tell them they had a good time. I needed to make sure that I did it. So I wrote down everyone's name, and any time I was like, hey, I gave them a compliment, what they did good, check, done. I know that sounds very robotic. A lot of more emotionally intelligent people might think that's strange, but you have to make a plan. If you want to do a new behavior, you have to write it down and you have to execute it. And you have to see that you're actually performing that. And then it becomes a habit. And then that's just how it works.
No, man, I love that. And people need to know they're human. I mean, that's why we left corporate, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Feel like a number that somebody recycles. And so with that, you were kind of talking about some of the actions that drive your values. What are some other actions, or really how do you drive what you want for your company down throughout your employees?
Yeah. So a big thing here is just really culture. I'm sure everyone says that, which is funny. I don't use it as a cliche. Everyone is determined. What I do is it's called a wandering manager. So I got to a point in my career where I don't really do a lot of the work, which is fine. It took me a long time to let that stuff go. It like breaks my heart. I'm like, I want to help. I want to help, but I can't, because then you can't, you're going to be a bottleneck, right? So I literally wandered to everyone inside the whole company and talked to them. How's your day going? You doing good? How was your weekend? You having some trouble? I help guide them. And because what you do as a great business owner as yourself is you didn't get here because you didn't know what you were doing. But what you have to do is instill that culture, that thought process, because what you'll make is your own environment, and people not only say think the same, but they know they can have an open conversation. If I come in and say, hey man, what's your idea? And it may not be the best idea, but if they can send it to me, I can make it a great idea. Same thing. If I have a good idea, they can make it a great idea. And having that position of trust is really hard to develop. When we hire people, I always say they have business PTSD is what I call it. And they're like, I know you're waiting for the mask to come off. You think I'm going to be different. I was like, I don't have time for that. It's my own business. So being the exact same person be exactly who you are from the get-go. Don't be someone else. Don't be a boss. Don't be the manager, the CEO. Trust me, people want human, and you want humans working for you because you don't want that corporate stuff that'll bleed in and make your environment toxic. Be exactly who you are, and work will be way easier because you talk to everyone exactly the same. If they mess up, just tell them they messed up and then let them know. For me, they love this is if they mess up, I approach it quickly, we address it, and as soon as I say I hit that door frame, I've forgotten it because you're going to fix it. And it takes them a little while. I love even a few of my employees come back in, they're like, hey, so Donovan, like the thing we were talking about yesterday, and I'm like, wait, what happened? What did we talk about? They're like, the thing. I was like, I don't know what the thing was. They're like, remember when I messed up? I'm like, oh my gosh, no, man, tell you, as soon as I'm gone, I'm not losing sleep over it, and neither should you. And encouraging people like that to have a more healthier and clear life will make your employees stay with you longer and appreciate the business you built.
I love that. Great insight. So one more question. You
Yeah.
mentioned you read a lot and then also absorb content while you're working out. What are a couple books that you could recommend for another executive or a young professional starting out they have to read, and why?
I was for sure this was coming. Hang on. And I got my book list here. Where's my podcasts? Hang on a second here. I'm pulling it up now, eventually. Well, there's one called Scalability that I'm reading, and I'm terrible who owns it. Here we go. I do. Okay. So Scaling Up this is one I've read this 3 times. It's Mastering the Rockefeller Habits 2.0, Scaling Up. And I'm kind of going in backwards order. It was really tough for me to, in the beginning, when I started the company, it started as a hobby. And I didn't really want to run a company. And as I evolved, I started having employees, we started having business, and I had to kind of adjust. So at one point, I was just a teammate. As it rolls in the company, you're a teammate. Then you have to be like a team lead, because then you have maybe 2 or 3 people reporting to you. That's really tough because you have to instill your passion and your knowledge into these 3 people. And it's hard when you're a small company because they can just steal these people quickly. Bigger companies with more money. Then you kind of get to a point where like 10 or 12, then you have to start setting people in position, which is weird because you're like, man, I'm kind of management top heavy. But at that point, you have to determine if you're building a company or you just want to keep this business. So that's a big determination. As we got bigger, I had to realize that I had to step away and be more of a strategist. And that's how you do. The only person that typically gets, I'll tell this anytime. The one person that gets in the way of your business being successful is probably you as the business owner. It's going to be you. It's been me the whole time. I've just had to learn to get out of my place, stop being in my own bottleneck. That kind of goes to another book. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. That is one, just assessing yourself and understanding who is the obstacle. And most likely it's you. You're the leader. You have the power. Is it because you're too authoritative? Do you not try to invest in your employees? Are you just here for the short term? It's you. You're the one in control. You're the one that has it. Do you let people take advantage of you on the flip side? How do you quantify that? Are you hiring a whole bunch of your friends and family? Don't do that ever. It's a terrible idea. I know you've heard that before, but I'm telling you, it's a bad idea.
I've worked with my wife. I get it.
Yes. See, and then, right. So who's the boss now? Right. And we don't know. We're not going to answer that question on this podcast for sure. Right. And another one is, I'll give you the one that I kind of started with earlier that I reread. These are my rotators right now, is Stoicism. So as I've grown through it, Stoicism, I don't know who wrote that. Anyway, Stoicism. What was really tough for me was to, shut up. Just shut up sometimes. I do talk a lot, but I don't know if Abraham Lincoln said this or not, but he basically said it's better not to speak and have people perceive that you're ignorant as opposed to open your mouth and remove all doubt. And as a younger, and I'm talking probably in my late 20s or mid 20s or late 20s, I feel like I always had to say something and I wasn't really active listening. It's okay to not say anything in a meeting. Okay, absorb it until you want to gather your thoughts, because I was a really high functional person, still am, But over time, I've learned to kind of address that. And, even I have people, which, some people get emotional in the office. You have to react to that accordingly. I mean, I'm not saying, again, I was to say I'm a robot, but like over time, you have to realize that everyone's had a different experience in their life, and you need to accept that and absorb that and try to be there. So stoicism is almost like that is emotional intelligence, and it's also stoic behavior, right? So even doing business deals, and maybe it's not a good idea to be super excited, or it's not be a good idea to be super upset about it. Absorb it, think about it, process, and then one of the things is top 3 or 4 things that come to your mind, write that down and then process those. And those are probably the right actions and behavior you need to conduct as you continue that conversation, either with your employees or even in a business deal.
So, and Donovan, is there a preferred method of contact if people have questions, they want to get a hold of you after this podcast?
Yeah, so probably LinkedIn. I answer everyone except salesmen. Sorry, guys. I mean, you're a salesman. You don't try to sell. Don't add me and then send me a message and then send me a message and then send me an email. That's not cool. I don't like that. So everyone but that. But yeah, any questions? I help people out all the time. Not only am I born and raised in Oklahoma, I like to invest in local entrepreneurs in the area. The OKCYP, I've been been an investor in that company. Not invest, I shouldn't say investor. I've been donating to that group so they can help find young people to make their own businesses. And I've helped probably 8 or 9 of them, kind of coach them. And I don't charge them at all, because I would love for Oklahoma to be the entrepreneurial state, which I feel like at least the government's moving that way. We're adjusting that. And I have a little say so on a few boards that I'm involved with, but I want to see Oklahoma still retain our heavy culture that we have of who we are. And we kind of discussed that earlier off camera of what we believe in. But at the same time, there's no reason that we can't be just ahead of the game as any other city, because of just of who we are and how we are, I think, more open to people. We're not, I don't almost say soft. We're very nice people, but we just don't like people who are rude and will let you know really fast is I think is the problem. We're very nice until we're not, because we just, but yeah, I kind of be traveling across the country. Love Oklahoma. I've traveled everywhere. I even was, worked for a company out of Japan, did, some work overseas, stuff like that. This is the best place to be. And I'm excited to be a part of other groups like yourself, just to be here and invite me to preach the choir and have them to push on to be more successful for themselves, their state, and their family.
Man, that's awesome. Well, everybody, thank you. This is Kellen Cowan, New Wave Solutions. Donovan, sincerely, thank you for giving today.
Hey, man, thank you. See ya.